Sometimes this could happen because a creator has just run out of imagination. We've seen this with great musicians putting out a few great albums and maybe having a commitment to publish some more, and the music seems to lose its spark. I've seen it in our own community. Many channels sharing this history that we in this community talk about, only to flip-flop and turn against the community. And many question whether this is sincere or if these are some Agent Smiths acting on a plan. Again, I don't know, but I see all possibilities. And I hope that's what I share on this channel. All possibilities. I hate to be told what to think, and I hope to never tell you what to think. These are only my thoughts. So on the subject of flip-flopping in our community, I want to talk about Ewar, or whatever his name is. At one point I was impressed with his work. In no way did I think it was original. It was a compilation of all the creators, including myself. All the researchers over the past 3 or so years, he had summed up into a 5-hour video. And I thought it was great, and many of us did, because it was the sum of all researchers in this community. And I don't know if he did this by himself or had a team. I couldn't have done it by myself. I would have needed help as a video creator. That's my opinion. Would have required at least 2 or 3 people to produce the content that he did and the research, even to compile all the research that had been done on so many different channels. We in this community will have recognized much of it, but he pieced it together in a grand showcase, and he kind of presented it very forcefully, I felt like, kind of telling you what to think and making you feel like if you didn't think the way he thought that you were stupid. But in many cases I agreed, and I thought it was just what we needed in this community. Someone to take all the research from all the various channels and put it together. Something I've been wishing and longing to do with my own research, just to go back and put it all together. At least half of my videos I don't even remember what they're about. And essentially every video is my notes to go back and continue my research. But my thoughts are there is always time for such things. And I was very happy that Ewar had presented such a great case. Now, I ended up not agreeing with a lot of his points. And then other points I agreed with but didn't feel like they belonged in this presentation, and mostly pertaining to the realm and the shape of it versus the history. Of course, they're both intertwined, but I thought for the sake of making a good case, I would prefer to focus on the history. Now, again, going back to Ewar, his work was comprised of many channels in this community, put together beautifully. And then he flip-flopped. He said he waltzed into a bookstore and grabbed the first book off the shelf, saw some construction photos, and discarded the community, and not only his work, but everybody that his work was based off of. And he hasn't been in the community that long. He had very little to lose. And one could say this is a perfect sabotage operation. And to some extent I think it worked. So what will I do? I am an optimist, and I take the good, even if we're left with a pile of shit. But here I want to read Ewar's words before he flip-flopped. How can we trust the official mainstream historical narrative? The historical narrative does not make sense. It doesn't add up. If we take a closer examination at the ideas that have governed our understanding of history and the world since our birth, the history begins to fall apart. Sorry, I'm paraphrasing a little. We are told that the first true power tool was invented in 1895, when a German company combined an electric motor with a manual drill. The drill weighed about 16.5 pounds and required multiple people to operate it. It wasn't until 1957 that a company called Bosch began designing power tools in bulk that were both economical and powerful. So basically like a home tool. So how then did our historical ancestors, a more primitive, underdeveloped people, design and build some of the structures we encounter? What about all the gigantic, monolithic stones we encounter? He says they have been cut with such precision, and we don't think they were cut. Ask yourself if you could repeat this today with the arsenal of equipment we have at our disposal. And again, we don't know. We don't know if they were truly poured, but let me read on. This is a part in which he's talking about Antiquitech. I'm not sure if he's flip-flopped on this subject as well, but he says, look at the word cathode. Does it remind you of another word? Cathedral. Cathode. Like everything else, they corrupt the truth and hide things in plain sight. The controllers removed most of the cathodes in several of these cavity magnetrons, but there are still some structures today in which you can see traces of the old cathode. Still present. The heavy reliance on symmetry and cavities within these structures is not coincidental. The symmetrical ornamentation would have worked in a similar manner, causing the energetic particles to vibrate in a constant manner. And I made a video over 3 years ago called Unlimited Free Energy, and you can see all about what he's talking about here. It's explaining that certain shapes automatically vibrate and resonate at a certain frequency, just based on their shape and the quality of the metals in which the shapes are cast. And Russian scientists proved this over 20 years ago. Very old documentary, Russian documentary, sharing this knowledge on how Antiquitech works, and that all these religious symbols, coincidentally or not, happen to be the best symbols for resonating or vibrating, hence why we see these symbols on the very tops of the most glorious buildings throughout.
Si te gustó el contenido del canal, no olvides suscribirte, darle campanita para notificaciones, darle me gusta, comentar o compartir. Hasta la próxima.